Greetings! I wanted to finally do a very quick video, or as quick as I can make it, on rotary cutting. This is for you, Desiree. I know you asked for this a couple times and it's taken me forever to get to it. I happen to be cutting quite a few orders today and I have all the stuff out, so I thought it might be a good time to try to quickly capture some of this. So here goes. Let me put the camera on the table here. Okay, I think we got it. Now, rotary wise, there are several types. There are like the really nice ones like the Ginger. There are a cheapo Fiskars, and there are these very small ones. Please don't touch the camera, Daniel. Go watch your cartoons. Yeah. Sorry. There are several types. Personally, I never use my small one. You would think it would corner around things better, and in some ways it does, but as a whole I really never reach for it. Maybe it's the brand or something, maybe it's the size, but I just don't feel like it's as sharp, and I feel like I have to use a lot more pressure. So take that for what you will. Now between these two types, this is the first type I ever had, and this is a type that me and my mom went and got, and we used coupons and discounts and stuff to both get us one of the nice ones. We got at the same time the replacement blades and all of that. Honestly, it does a good job. I do like the feel of it for the most part. It probably lasted a little longer on its blade than any of them that I've had. Is it worth the price difference from this to this? Probably not. That's not to say that I don't like it. I do really like it. It's a Ginger. I like the heavy feel of it. Longevity, I would say it probably will last quite a while. So it does have some good bonus points. But the cutter and the blades themselves are much more expensive. Just as a general recommendation, I think this type is fine. I don't think there's the first thing in the world wrong with it. It works very well. In this particular style, I find extremely comfortable too, because you can get your thumb up and over it to put the pressure down. Very nice. Goes without saying with rotary blades, they are extremely sharp. Be very careful if it's your first time using them when you go to change the blades. Like this Ginger refill blade even came with a little special system to try to keep you from having to even touch the blade. Super sharp, easy to hurt yourself. You must be very careful. So far, like the blade sharpeners, I tried a basic Dritz one that's a little manual one, and you're supposed to twist it back and forth to try to sharpen it. I found it 100% useless. It made my blade so dull, I think a pizza cutter would have done a better job after that thing got done with my blade. I threw the blade away. I've heard that electric sharpeners do a good job. I don't know, I don't have one, I have not tried that yet. It does help when you go to buy refilled blades. This is just a Fiskars basic ones, or package I should say. It does help if you buy multiple ones at once and then use a coupon on them all. In the long run, you will save a good bit of money doing that and buying like the packs of 5 instead of one blade at a time, because if you buy just one blade, they're usually about $5 to $6, whereas this pack I think is like 20 or 25, but if you use a 50% coupon, you can see in the long run you will save money. Some people I've heard go to Harbor Freight and get them that are for like cutting carpets and things. I've gotten mixed reviews on that. I've heard people say that they just don't last as long, and they don't cut quite as well or not as sharp. And then I've had other people say that they're fine, and they're supposed to be extremely cheap in comparison to going to Joann's or a sewing store. You basically, any of these cutters, they may always recommend their own brand, but you can really interchange. It's just look for the millimeters. These are 45 millimeter blades, and that's essentially what you need. So you're certainly welcome to try other brands and to see what brand you like, no matter what brand you go with cutter wise. I would say pick a cutter that looks comfortable to you. Do be careful. I don't know if any cutters are sold as permanently left-handed, or actually these are. Think about it, these are sold as left-handed, right-handed. because there's no way to flip the side. So make sure you get the right one for your, whether you're right or left-handed. This one does change. You can put your blade on either side to accommodate if you're a righty or a lefty. I'm of course a righty, so I keep it accordingly. But do be careful, like if you go by the ginger about that, because you don't want to end up with the wrong one. That would be, you'd be all excited, you bought your new cutter and you get home and you wouldn't be able to use it very comfortably. I'm trying to think what else blade wise. I think that's it for the things that you actually need. Now you can go through and pin your stuff, like your patterns, to your fabric just like normal. Like this is one of my little covering patterns. I know, real high tech, huh? You can pin it to the fabric, but honestly I haven't pinned in a long time. I have gotten a total thing for using pattern weights and just plop those down on there, and those are awesome to help hold in place while you're going through and then you're making your cuts. Just so useful, and they save time. They also keep your patterns from wearing out, and if you're using rotary, and why I'm mentioning this, when you're using pins, make sure that you're not pinning out beyond the edge to where you can nick it with your blade, because that will really dull your blade if you accidentally hit a pin. So keep that in mind. Let me think what else. With the rulers and stuff. If you're going to use rotary, I really recommend getting at least one ruler. This is my personal favorite. I love this ruler and I use it the most. I like it because I can get a nice long cut with it. It also, you can use these little lines to help you, like with your, if you need to do a bias cut, you got your 45-degree. You line that up with the edge of your fabric and you can see clearly where it's at, and now all of a sudden if you cut it through there you'll have perfect bias, and that is very useful to have. But I like this the easiest. You can also easily line up from your edges, and you can see like right where you need to make your cuts. If you want the 1, 2, 3, 4, if you're looking for a 4-inch wide piece, then all of a sudden you can line it up. If you need 3, all you gotta do is change. It's a little easier having the clear rulers to do your see-through, but with rotary it also helps because you can come up against it. I'm using it left-handed here, forgive me. You can come up against it and you run your blade right along beside it, and it gives you an extremely straight cut. Honestly, I've never been able to cut nowhere near straight with scissors as what I can with rotary. I do a lot better and make cleaner cuts. Right here, if you can see this, that's where I was cutting out a kerchief a little bit ago, and you can see there's no little jagged pieces like sometimes you get with scissors. That is a huge benefit to rotary. Because you're cutting right beside rulers, you can get just really precision cuts. Quilters especially love them because you can get perfect 2-inch square pieces or 3-inch square pieces, whatever you're looking for, and you can see that they mark to the 1/4 inches and stuff right on your rulers. So if you need 2 1/4 to allow your seam allowance, you can get just much more precise cuts than you can typically get with scissors. Not to say that people can't do it with scissors, you can. It's just easier with rotary. I have several rulers, different sizes and different shapes. I think if a person quilted a lot, this square one would be especially nice, so you can get all the many different sizes. There's also rulers that are like this that have these little cutouts, so you can take your rotary and go right up, and then you can cut strips of fabric. I've only used this a couple times. I've only owned it about a year. It was a Christmas gift from my mom. But it can be helpful if your strips are the right size, but it seems like a lot of times my strips are a little bit longer, so I haven't used it as much as I thought I would. But it still is helpful if your strips are within the lengths and you can do your cuts. You could even fold your fabric up so it all fits up and under there, and then cut right up and get a lot of perfect cuts very quickly. But honestly, if you're just starting out, this is my favorite. I recommend it probably above all the rulers I have. I think you need one good ruler. The other ones are just nice to have, a blessing to own, but not absolutely necessary in my opinion. But again, it depends on what you're doing. Are you cutting dresses and I think you can go ahead and put that back on me. Are you cutting dresses and clothing and things like that all the time, or are you quilting? Maybe a mixture of both. You might find you want different rulers for different jobs. Rotary also has the advantage of a lot of times you can find even little plastic rulers that are in the shapes of quilting pieces, and you can have your quilting pieces cut really easily that way. I don't really have any of those myself, but I think Mom does, and I think she uses them a good bit. But as a whole, I think that's the basics of Rotary. You, of course, do need your mat. I assume you've seen that. You cannot cut on a table or on a regular old cardboard cutting mat that like a lot of seamstresses use. You do have to have the mat that is for rotary cutting. They call them self-healing mats, but the blade will not cut properly unless you're against that type of a mat. The mats are expensive. Probably one of your biggest drawbacks of rotary cutting is initially buying your mat. I would recommend really thinking about what you're going to use it for. If you're going to use for quilting, you probably just need a little small to mid-size mat. If you're just using for something right by your sewing machine, you're just going to want a little tiny one. But if you're like me and you're using it for bigger things like dress bodices or head coverings, which is the thing I cut more of than anything, which is bigger to mid-size, you're going to need a bigger mat. You don't want to have a whole bunch of them put together trying to make one big mat. That kind of can work if you're desperate, but try to get as big a mat as what you can afford. Again, if you're going to like Joann's or Hobby Lobby, use a coupon. That will help a lot. But the mats can run anywhere from $20 to $100. It just depends on what size you're going for. Personally, I would like to upgrade and get a little bit bigger than even the one I have. The one I have here is 36 by about 30, and it's a pretty good size, and I am able to cut clothing bodices and things like that on it, but I do run into a little more trouble when I'm trying to cut out the skirt to a dress or something that's pretty long. What I usually do is I move the edges off and try to put my cut across the mat. Sometimes my mat's still just not big enough, but for right now what I have works. If you're going to cut clothing, although I wouldn't go much smaller than the mat I have. Just to warn you, I don't think that it would work as well. But as a whole, that's Rotary 101. Hopefully it's helpful. Y'all have a blessed day.